Iraq continues to be on the boil as Baghdad's Tahrir Square broke out in celebration minutes after Iraqi Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi announced his resignation. But while the move was welcomed with singing and dancing in the capital, some protesters remained skeptical and reiterated their demands for the complete overhaul of the country's political system. The announcement came a day after more than 50 protesters were killed by security forces in Baghdad and Iraq's Shia southern cities. Protesters burnt tires and surrounded a police station in the southern Iraqi city of Nasiriyah, pressing their demands for sweeping reform. Protesters clashed with security forces in Baghdad after trying to block a road leading towards the Iraqi central bank. At least 2 protesters were injured in the confrontations as slingshots and fireworks were used as weapons. Many Iraqis fear violence will continue to escalate as angry families mourn dead relatives and the government moves slowly to enact only limited reform. A funeral took place for 2 protesters killed when the armed groups opened fire on demonstrators in the holy city of Najaf. Mourners carried the coffins through the streets of Najaf as protesters across the country remained on the streets. Iraq's cabinet has approved Abdul Mahdi's resignation, but the parliament is yet to withdraw its support for the prime minister. Iraqi protesters have welcomed the resignation but say it is not enough. They demand the overhaul of a political system they say is corrupt and keeps them in poverty and without opportunity. Weeks of political wrangling are expected before a successor to Abdul Mahdi is picked and a new government formed. More than 400 people, mostly demonstrators, have been killed since the violent protests began. The unrest amounts to the biggest crisis of Iraq since Islamic State insurgents seized vast swathes of Iraqi and Syrian territory in 2014. It pits mostly young protesters against a Shiite-dominated government backed by Iran. Security forces have used live ammunition, tear gas and stun grenades against protesters for nearly 2 months. Scores of more than 400 have died in the recent days, particularly in the southern cities of Nasiriyah and Najaf. Now, Albania has ended its search for survivors of a powerful earthquake as the death toll has risen to 51. This came as several victims were laid to rest by their families. One such funeral was attended by the country's Prime Minister, Edi Rama. On Tuesday, Albania was struck by its worst ever quake. Most victims of the 6.4 quake are from the coastal city of Durrës. However, tremors were also felt in the capital of Tirana. Meanwhile, there have been hundreds of aftershocks, rocking already damaged buildings and terrifying residents.
And it was impossible to pay condolences to those who survived. What could I say to her father? That, okay, you are alive. He is a zombie. He is not alive anymore. Wife, daughter, granddaughter lost. There are not the proper words in the Albanian language to say to him, I'm sorry, you lost. I feel a little bit as if being privileged, and I feel a little bit ashamed. I had no loss at all, not even a scratch, and the whole family wiped out here.
Poorly equipped Albanian troops rescued survivors from the rubble of buildings, sometimes digging them out with their bare hands. This until 250 troops from European countries and the United States came to their aid.
We are here from the first day. We came after communication with the Albanian ministry. We said that we can help and they respect our